I teach undergrads and I always tell them, like, I get so many people ask me, give it time.
Yeah.
Give it good time. The speciality will come to you.
Correct.
You don't go to the speciality.
Correct.
It comes and picks
Correct.
you up.
It does pick you up.
And then you take it up from there.
Correct.
It shouldn't be you've just graduated today and then you're just signing up into a master's program.
Yeah.
No, you're a mechanic.
The questions that we think based on the values of what we want to give every delegate is, will the quality always match?
Correct.
You can go somewhere, but then when somebody else is the host in another country, will they take it as seriously as we do to give us what we want to give to the delegates for the learning outcomes that we think are the best?
It's like what Bruce Lee said. I'm paraphrasing it. Absorb the best and leave out the rest.
Correct. I think a lot of people don't realize one thing is a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff is actually self-funded.
Absolutely.
We fund a lot of this
Yeah.
from our pocket. A lot of this stuff is still self-funded, but we still plug a lot of the gaps financially in this program. And that's how we keep the prices low. Otherwise the prices would be far, far higher than what it is. We're still subsidizing it
Yeah.
personally.
So how did you guys end up meeting together?
It's very simple. He slid into my DMs, I slid into his,
Okay.
and that's how the world
And now
works
we
now.
are sliding into others' DMs. That's what we do.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the MADtherapy Sessions podcast. It's a special moment for all of us as this is our 50th episode, and I would like to thank you guys, without whom this would not be possible. In today's memorable 50th episode, we have 3 dentist guests on the pod at the same time. Our first guest is Dr. Shaurya Srivastav. He is a specialist endodontist from King's College London and is the first and the only Indian as a specialist member at the European Society of Endodontology. Our second guest for today is Dr. Ammar Horani. Dr. Ammar is a specialist endodontist from Liverpool Dental School and member in endodontics at the Royal College of Surgeons, Edinburgh. Our final guest for today is Dr. Gurdeep Singh. Dr. Gurdeep is a specialist endodontist from Cardiff School of Dentistry. He is the clinical head and assistant professor at the Department of Endo Restorative Dentistry at Ammar and Dental College. The link to the audio podcast for Spotify and YouTube music will be in the description down below. Enjoy the session.
You guys just landed in Bombay, I think a couple of hours back, right? If I'm not wrong. I mean,
Yeah, we just came in today morning because we were teaching in London and then down south of England, 2 courses back to back, and then we bring the same thing, hopefully better now in Bombay.
long flight.
Yeah, 10 and a half hours I think it was. A long flight.
Yeah, we
So-
did manage to get some sleep.
I got no
Shaurya did.
So the thing is, Gurdeep and I are a little bit cheap, so we took the one with the layover because it's a bit cheaper. He took the direct
afford
Oh,
that
flight.
much.
you guys did not come
No,
together.
no, I went to work yesterday and then I continued on
Wow,
here.
that's some
so,
dedication
yeah,
to work.
I was forced by this guy.
Just put it on me, eh?
So I wanted to ask you, how did you 3 guys meet? I mean, 3 different age groups and 3 different places: Cardiff, Liverpool, Bombay initially, and then now London. So how did you guys end up meeting together?
It's very simple. He slid into my DMs, I slid into his,
Okay.
and that's how the world
And now
works
we
now.
are sliding into others' DMs. That's what we do.
For the course, right?
For the course, yeah.
But the thing is, I think before then it was, I think a lot of the endodontists usually share a lot of cases on Instagram. And I think we've been seeing each other's cases for probably about a year or 2. So I think that's where the inspiration was, well, wait a minute, can we collaborate? Because I was already doing my own stuff in the UK and I'd sort of reached the glass ceiling from my personal perspective. And so I wanted to sort of evolve, but I needed to meet someone who's more in line with what I was thinking, keep it modern, keep it fresh. And I quite like the stuff that he was doing. It's quite creative. And that's how I sort of got in touch with Shaurya, and we just started chatting, really.
Yeah,
That's how
it
it sort of
was,
started
it
off.
was very organic in that sense. And yeah, what Ammar said, that where the intention was to where it's going, honestly, like, it's been brilliant in that sense.
Yeah.
Took a bit longer than we ever have thought and anticipated.
Yep.
But it's all about being aligned in the same thought and the same mentality to achieve what you want to do. Although we may have different ways of looking at things, but that has always helped us because you are getting an opinion from someone or in a way that you are not thinking. So I think that is the strength of doing something like this together and also collaborating with the right
Yeah, and
people.
I think when we all met or when we got in touch, we actually saw that we had a very similar vision, the same laugh, the same motive. That's what got us cracking on what we are doing, and we've never seen back then. We got together to do one course.
Yeah.
Do one course and then we are
So
done.
you guys never met in person. It's just through social media first,
Social media.
and then you guys end up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just after lockdown, really. I mean, COVID was sort of the starter of all of
Okay.
this. So after lockdown, Shaurya had then come to London. We sat down to talk, and we just started to brainstorm. And I think the thing about the 3 of us, we're dreamers. So that's
Ambitious.
We are ambitious. We're dreamers. We like to give things a go, and we've always sort of supported each other when someone's got a bit of a wacky idea. And actually, most of the times it does work.
Yeah.
It just needs a little bit of tweaking, sometimes a little bit of reining in. But generally speaking, I think it works. I think there's
Yeah, I mean, so there's of course work that goes behind a whack idea because it's always outside the box, right? So what we came up with initially, and I always say it with a lot of, I don't know, like a good learning curve, because I'll be honest, we fucking failed. 2 years
Yep.
running, we failed. We formed a company about 2 years ago ish,
Yep.
two, 3
we
years
spent quite
ago.
a lot. We spent a lot of money doing stuff,
Yeah,
and
we-
didn't go anywhere.
We did nothing because we tried something, it didn't work, but that's also because we read a lot of things wrong. And then of course you keep on pushing. It's very easy to just drop off.
I think
And then we got in
yeah.
touch with him and he sorted us out basically.
Yeah, I think we don't let it go. You fail. Of course, if you're doing an experiment, what do you expect? You're not just going to crack on the first try.
Right.
You're going to fail first, right? So the goal was to keep moving, and then they sorted me out, and of course I sorted them out, and they take care of me very well.
So initially,
Just
you
from
guys
an
met
academic
for
view.
work.
Just a disclaimer here.
So if I'm not wrong, initially you guys interacted because of your work, and then
Right.
eventually you found a common purpose where you can impart your education to other people and expand and share ideas with each other.
Correct. I think it was. I think we did our first course, and I think it went a lot better than we'd hoped. We had a really good time. I think like I said, we had a lot of overlapping ideas, which was really good.
Right.
Our ethos was very similar because I think we've all trained, because we all trained in the UK. We have a very similar standing point. The standards exactly the same. How we wanted the company to go was good. But honestly, the most important thing of all of this is the chemistry between all three of us, and I would say trust. If there wasn't any trust in this couldn't have continued on. Because a lot of times we do stuff and we, Gurdeep or Shaurya might say, "Yeah, I want to do this."
Yeah.
Just go and do it. And no one. We always support each other. Go and do it.
Yeah.
We don't hold anyone back, and I think that's why it succeeded. We don't argue over the petty stuff. Just let it go.
So it's never been like 2:1. So it's always been okay. If I want to do something,
Right.
they both are like, let's go for it. So any one of us from three has an idea. We say, okay, let's go for it. We don't think much about it, and it works. It works very well that way.
Even a lot of the meetings that we have, by the way, with other people or other groups or companies, a lot of us don't actually go in the same meeting at the same time. And sometimes it could be just Shaurya on his own, and I would be like, listen, whatever you say, I consent to it. Just go for it.
Yeah.
It's the same. Sometimes we might be in a meeting and he'll be like, I'm not going to be there. Decide on your own, see what you want to do. I'm happy. And this is actually quite interesting because it just gives us the freedom then to take that decision and not have to wait for a third party. Does that make sense? Which is good.
And so we did our first course together in Jan, right?
Jan of this year?
Jan of this year.
Okay.
And funny enough, that's the first time they ever met.
Yeah.
First time they ever met, right? And
Well, you
of
never
course,
tell.
we go out with the delegates and stuff. So you do talk about, they ask you about how things work and how you guys, of course, got along, etc. And I said the same thing. This is the first time these guys have met. And that's it. Nobody could believe it.
Yeah.
And I think that chemistry is one thing. The other thing is that the fact that you don't have to always have a confined notion of how one person is thinking, because because you trust these guys, that they're thinking for the betterment of all of us.
Right.
And it just happens. So guys, always slide into people's DMs. That's all I'm gonna say.
Honestly, I think there's genuine care here. Like we're always looking out for each other. So if I think something's going to be good for him, I'll be like, just do it, push for it.
It was just
So
meant to
it's,
work and meant to happen, meant to meet, and
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the only way it's going to be successful. I think otherwise we're going to end up arguing over petty stuff and we're never going to move forward.
If I can ask you guys, what's the core philosophy behind the Endo Resto program, if I may ask?
Should I start off?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So the whole idea behind the Endo Restorative course was, first was, let's do a course, but of course with the backdrop of something that's a bit different, right? Now the fact that we teach in different countries as well, and have been for a long time, maybe together, maybe independently as well. The whole idea is that bringing certain principles together
Right.
in a way that is so clinically feasible, reproducible and predictable for people at the highest standards possible. So that's been always the philosophy. And the fact that I've trained in India, Gurdeep as well, but he teaches in Oman. Ammar has done his training through and through from the UK. This helps us devise something for every country that we go to as well, right?
Right.
And the most important thing in all of this is not compromising on the standards that we aspire to teach at. So I think that's the core philosophy, that whatever we do it in a way that we hope and try to deliver at the highest standard possible, with evidence, of course, because without that we're just cowboys, to be very honest with you, right? Another example of that is that, you know, when we're trying to get into other aspects of the endo restorative stuff, which might not be our forte. And the good thing is we know our limitations. So we want to probably bring in other people who are better, who will maintain the standards of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, to be honest with you, I mean, similar to yourself, when you were just finishing off your undergrad, maybe first few years out of dental school, you probably went to a lot of courses where you thought this was not applicable to me. I can't use any of this information back in the clinic. This stuff's too expensive. I'm not going to invest this money in X, Y, and Z. I'm not a specialist. I don't know what you're actually even asking me to do. So it's not actually even moldable to me. So I think what we tried to do from day one is what did I feel as that student or as that delegate? How do I then break it down to keep it very simple so that they can use it tomorrow morning with the materials and tools you've got in your clinic without having to really invest too much? Because people don't want to invest too much. Let's be honest. Some people want to invest, some people don't. And then make it reproducible so you get the best outcome for your patient without also at the same time protecting yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really important. You know, you get a good name for yourself because it ultimately is your name.
Yeah.
But at the same time, your patient's at the center of all of this. They're getting the best treatment possible. And I think that's where we started. This was the baseline at which we looked at, really.
Yeah, I think I agree with both of them. So I would just simplify it by saying, you know, this is a course which we would have wanted to go maybe 10 to 15 years back. Like we go and we get everything out of that course, and, you know, I'm in practice next day and I can just go and practice, you know. Like I'm getting tips, tricks next time in the practice, and I can actually do it. You know, I can actually feel the difference. That's about the narrative about the program. You know, that's about the principle, the core values behind the program. If you would say, or you would debate, it's an endo course, it's an endo restorative course, but how is it different? This is how it is different. We're giving people something which they can actually be practical in their clinic. You know, we're not giving them something to think a lot about. We're giving them a hands-on training, and to be honest, this is for them and for their patients as well. Yeah.
And the last thing I would probably add on to that is we also do get some older clinicians.
Yeah.
They sometimes feel that they're stuck in the past.
Yeah.
So this really then gets them, you know, updated to where everyone else is at this moment in time. If it stays current for the next 5 years, they're still updated because, you know, dentistry changes every 5 years. So as long as they come to this, they'll be still pretty current for the next 5 years. You know, developments are still going strong. It gets them up to that standard, which is good. A lot of them then enjoy their dentistry.
Right.
Because now suddenly they're using the new stuff, the things that they've seen maybe on social media that didn't know what they meant. Now they feel more ambitious, more enthusiastic about their clinical work. That's really important as well.
It's like what Bruce Lee said. Like, I'm paraphrasing here. Absorb the best and leave out the rest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So is like you guys studying in the UK a core focal point for all of y'all, wherein, because that's something which is common between three of y'all.
I think so. That is, of course, the confounding factor to start with, right? The other thing, what I will say that it's not my words, is what the delegates have said.
Yeah.
Right. So, of course, three of us in the course, we teach different aspects. Yeah. We take on a different topic and we go on that. But regardless of that, things overlap. One may be in the room, one may not be in the room. And the delegates a lot of them have always said that when some repetition happens, right, they always state the same evidence, the same factors that may determine to be prognostic or outcome based, and things that we do in practice. Now, again, three of us, we may look at a case in a different way and do things a little bit differently. But that is still looking at the same evidence with our own little interpretation of it. But still, the value of all of it still remains the same. And I think that's what is very important, that when a delegate comes in, for example, so you have three specialists, right? They don't get different things to do. They get different opinions that are still right. Nobody is wrong unless you're really wrong, right? But everybody gets a different perspective, which is still evidence-based. So I think that is something that is the core value in that sense, the core foundation of what we do. Because if I say something, Gurdeep or Ammar may have a different view to it, different narrative towards it. But that's evidence-based, number one. Number two, I won't challenge them on that because it's correct. It's just about how we go about things.
Right.
And that's good for someone to come in because you get to brainstorm in a way where there's no contradiction. And that's, again, the beauty of it.
Yeah, I'll give you a real-time thing. What happened in Bexhill in the UK, I think when Ammar was speaking, me and Shaurya were talking. So I go like, Shaurya, what do you think? Do you do it this way? He's like, no, I do it that way. Then I ask Ammar. Ammar says, I'll do it that way. But the thing is, we might have different techniques, but we follow the same principles. And I think our learners or delegates who come, they get these 3 different things, but we keep telling them the principles are the same. The evidence is the same. That's what we stick to.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the beauty of it, I
I think the thing is, I think we were very fortunate in the UK that you got trained by multiple specialists.
Yeah.
So if you get a little bit of everyone, you like things that they will teach you. There's things that you might not agree with you, might not align with you. So you end up creating your own philosophy. As long as your philosophy is sound from clinical evidence, then everything's going okay.
Right.
And it might be little tweaks here and there, but that's my philosophy. The beauty of it is because they know the knowledge inside and out. They know the weaks and strengths of my philosophy. I can challenge them and they can challenge me. But ultimately, we're going in the same direction. It's little tweaks. Sometimes actually it's, I would say they're so minute. Sometimes it's just trivial. But it's what feels good for you or in your hands. Or maybe you've done 1,000 or 2,000 cases like this and it works. And that's your recipe now. See my point? So because of that, I think it enriches the students' experience because they're getting a little bit of something different from every person. You don't want to hear the same narrative from all 3. I think that makes it a little bit boring, in my opinion, personally. I'd rather hear 3 different opinions, you know?
And just going back to the same thing that Ammar said, I mentioned the same. I mentioned it in the last podcast, which was that this is also the beauty of training with multiple specialists who are evidence based. That if you are my supervisor or consultant, right, you read the same evidence. But if I challenge my way of doing it, but still backed by the same evidence, they're not going to put you down. They're not waiting for you to fail.
Right.
So, do you know what I mean? Like you can't have people that be like, oh, on the ego, you don't want that to work out because you said something. But that's the beauty of critical thinking. They make you think, if it fails now, it's not your fault. You followed the right stuff. In your philosophy of doing things, what is the next step?
Right.
So that's the breakdown, and that's what we do even in when we do a lot of Q&As. Our course does not have lectures, right? We do lectures beforehand.
Yeah, that's what he told me.
Small presentations, and you crack on. But then we do Q&As. We keep challenge their mind.
Throughout the day. And it's actually, none of these Q&As are actually, you don't script them. It's something that might have just popped up in your brain and you go, right, you know what, guys, let's discuss this. What would you do now? And I think people like that spontaneity of it. It's not pre-rehearsed, which, I mean, personally, I don't like working like that. It has to be like, off the cuff.
Yeah.
That's what makes it more interesting.
And then when they see this, that's what is going on. So they bring their cases as well.
Yeah.
Like we have delegates bringing in their cases.
Yeah.
We might put it on the screen and we might discuss the case, just showing the real-time thing, what we are doing, so that they feel, okay, I have a case, these guys did solve it, and the others get to learn from it. And maybe we also get to learn from
and
it.
we've never seen the case. It's the first time we've seen the case.
Exactly.
So you're sort of on the spot, giving your opinion,
So how was a recent tour which just happened in the UK? I mean,
It's brilliant.
You sound like the boy band, isn't it?
Yeah,
The Backstreet Boys.
the Beyonce World Tour.
We've just been talking about this. We feel like a rock band, to be honest. We've been on the move. And,
I mean, it looked like one. It looked like a nice road trip across the UK. Because I saw Shaurya stories going to the south of UK, going to the north of UK. I was like,
The only difference is that there's different costs over here. We were on utter cost-cutting mode, whereas if you're an actual boy band, that's not going to be there. Okay, so we 3 were sharing one bed as well. It's very cozy.
So I think it's about adding spice to what you like,
I don't know what you mean by that, bro.
I'm only staying to endo. It's not to anything else. So endo generally is considered very boring because you're staying within the canals, you're doing the same thing every day. So I think this would be our way of adding spice to what we do and how we want to make it more, we want to develop more liking towards it. And this keeps us excited all the time. And there's one common thing between 3 of us is we really like to teach. It might be in a different way, but we really like to teach.
Yeah.
That's here for all of us. Then it's the practice, and that's what we're giving out.
right.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, a lot of the times with the teaching, I think a lot of people might misunderstand some stuff. Your clinical work still is, I mean, I'm being honest with from a financial viewpoint, that's what brings the money. The teaching really brings a little bit, but it's not, you could make far more just doing your clinical work. You're sort of taking time out to do this. But because you enjoy it, it becomes like a little hobby. And because we're chilling out together, it makes it fun. So it's like you look forward to it as a bit of a lad's thing, So it ends up being a few good day out.
And when it comes to that, so like, it's just not just that. If you're not doing clinical work,
There's no kudos.
then we can't do what we're doing, right? Because whatever we do is only clinically relevant what we believe. Someone may think elsewise, but That's what we believe. And I think that if any one of us stopped our clinical work and daily practice, we would not be on the same page.
No.
Because what someone is getting from the course is our tips and tricks.
Correct.
We do things, as I said, we do things differently to get the right outcome, the same goal. But if you're not in clinics, it's just not going to work.
I mean, a lot of this stuff, for example, if you ever come to one of the courses to watch, a lot of stuff is our experience. It's actually not in books. And then the dentists go, I've never read that. I've never seen this. And that's because you've done maybe 7,000 cases like this. Suddenly now you've got a little knack for it.
Right.
You know, a little, not a shortcut, but there's a way around it. You see it differently now because you've seen it all the time. That's what they like. And I think that's the stuff that I wish I knew as an undergrad or just as I graduated.
Yeah.
That would have made my life considerably easier, you know?
Yeah, because to be honest, you don't want to be in a course which is just telling you what the textbook is saying, right?
Yeah.
You want something which is coming out from the clinical practice.
You can relate to it.
Absolutely. So that's how, if we're not practitioners, we won't be able to teach. So teaching is out of passion and practice is out of the need of money.
And actually, it would show up very quickly if I'm showing you stuff on the big screen because we're doing everything under the microscope. So you're watching me do it. If I don't know what I'm doing, I'm telling you, you will pick up very quickly. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. Do you see my
Yeah,
point? You
of
can
course.
definitely see it. You
Yeah.
can sense it. Whereas if someone's doing it all the time, you could sense this guy's got it under control. You know, so it's fine.
And to add to that, there's always instances where you might just get caught with a surprise. You remember that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I was doing the instrumentation part of things, right? Showing them how to get a glide path, get my 8 file size 8 in. It's really freaking tight. Can't get it out. Fine. Do a little bit of what I would normally do. Get it back out. Get the 10 in. It's really stuck. At that moment, I'm like, okay. And this is all under the microscope.
Yeah.
25 people are watching on 4 big
Everyone
screens.
can see it.
Yeah?
Plus the reps.
Plus the reps. So make that 30 people. I pull out that file and there's an S-shaped canal. We didn't know that.
I walked out.
He walked, I heard him say, fuck this, I'm out. He walks out.
Yeah, we just left the building.
Then, and I had a mic. When I pulled that out and I twisted that little file, I said, oh fuck. He comes and covers my mic and says, mate, you're on you're on the speaker right now, you're on the mic. He let the mic go. I said, oh fuck, am I really? And at that point, you're like, okay, what do I do now? Because it's not easy.
No,
But
that's
now
the
you
difficult
now
phase.
you got to be
You're committed.
very cool. You got to be because you're specialist,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Fine. I manage that curve. Then I go in with the rotary. I separate the rotary.
But that's fine.
Same case. Same.
Same case.
Same case.
Absolutely fine.
So that's
Same
the thing,
case.
you know, these things can happen, you know, and they're watching live on the microscope. For example, I'm doing an obturation on a bite block. Before the gutta percha, the plastic block starts melting, you know. And the reps are there. I'm telling the reps, your heat is very good, you know. It's melting the block off and not the gutta percha, you know. So such things happen. Especially when they're watching. You know?
But I think it adds more value to the course because now
You're
the
human.
students are seeing it live.
Exactly.
And they have more respect for you guys.
And as well, that when we do our presentations, we show failures as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is very important because whenever I actually really look forward to having and see my outcomes of my cases. See, success is success. That's brilliant. You're going to get, if you do everything correctly, you're going to get 80% off it by literature, right? But when the failures come in, that's when you're going to learn more. And we love showing failures. Because if you're not showing that, then you're just God.
You're not human. There's something not right. And also, it also disheartens the delegates because they think, well, how I can't be at the standard. Well, actually, we could do it perfectly, and it sometimes still fails. and
Another
that's
point
normal.
for them to be relate to it to you. So that
Correct.
Yeah.
if these guys can fail, so do
Absolutely.
Correct.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the message.
Yeah.
And whenever we are on the course, we don't really have a structure. We don't rehearse
No.
like who's doing what. We have a plan. We have an outline, but we don't rehearse. We don't go.
But
by
do you
the
guys decide who's gonna take what? And
Absolutely, that's
Yeah,
decided.
that's
but
decided.
if you see, like I've been observing them, and I'm sure they've been observing me. In London, we have done 2 courses, same headings, but completely, or there has been more information, different information in both the lectures. So it's.
I
not
think
like,
we can gauge the delegates
Yeah.
as well, to be honest with you. Some
Yeah.
groups, you could tell they're maybe a little bit more experienced and
Yeah.
might need a little bit more and might want to be pushed a little bit more. Some groups might
Yeah.
need a little bit more, just tone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So you have to understand the narrative of the room. You don't pick that up straight away. That takes a good maybe 2 or 3 hours before you start to get a real sense
Correct.
of the delegates.
Yeah.
So, like coming back to that Endo Boys road tour, how was it? I mean, how was it? Like new cities this time? for you guys?
I think the trip was fun. We've covered
It's always, isn't it?
we've covered
It's
two stations in London, and I'm sure Ammar can definitely precisely tell you the location because Ammar has been very kind enough to drive us around. It has been fun. We've just been sitting with him, sleeping, watching some football games in the car while this guy's been driving. You know, he's been putting a lot of hard work to it. And then we are back in Bombay.
So we did London, North London. We did Bexhill, which is South Coast Hastings.
Okay.
So that's East Sussex. We've done Dubai. So that was a good course, to be honest. And I think we want to expand on that again. I think we'll try on that again. Obviously, Mumbai is the bread and butter here. And
You mentioned football. Do you guys follow the same clubs or?
No way. No, if we follow the same cause, we'll be enemies.
No, I'm
I
a
think
huge.
that's a different podcast, but I just want to know your favorite teams.
I'm a Man United fan, huge United fan since I was a
Arsenal
kid.
fan,
Yeah,
22 years, 23 years.
it's not been a good 13 years, but yeah, it's.
I like Chelsea. I don't know. So we all follow
Really?
different games.
Since
Yeah?
when that
Mate,
happened?
you like since when? Since you went to London now?
No, since just now. I just made them up now.
I passed the stadium first.
Who do you think it was before?
I would not gauge him for a football
I don't think
fan,
he was a
to be
football fan
honest.
at all.
Why?
I just had that impression.
I
I didn't think you watched football. So there you go.
So I've been so busy, you know, I don't get time to watch football. But then I do watch football. Yeah, we
Yeah.
do watch some games. We do watch
Mate,
cricket.
this is the first time he
I
said
think
that.
I've
I think
never seen
Ammar
it. I've
also
never
watches some cricket. Ammar
The
has,
T20 I enjoy. I mean, I don't like the series stuff. I think that's quite boring. But the T20 is quite cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you guys put any sports reference in your courses or?
I haven't. I don't think.
Not really.
That's a good idea. I would pick it up. We haven't done that till
No, we
now.
haven't.
I think maybe
I
in 2
mean-
years, I think to do that right now, that would show too much ego, which we don't have, to
No.
be fair. So,
No, like depending on different countries. Like for example, India can be cricket centric.
yeah.
UK can be football centric.
Football or rugby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've not.
No,
I've
not really.
We've not done it. No.
Okay. Okay.
Hasn't come across it. We haven't even thought about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I went through a brochure. I've already interacted with Shaurya about when he started his program. So, is it gonna be only India and UK, or do you guys see yourself expanding to different cities, different countries, maybe different continents along the?
To be honest, there's a lot of talks going on. I wouldn't really want to disclose all the names because the sponsors would not want that at this stage. But we would want to, but we're just looking at the feasibility of the whole program, how it works, because we have certain requirements which we need to fulfill.
Yeah.
As the course is accredited by the Royal College, so we have to be in our limits as well. You know, we have boundaries to maintain. But yes, there are big plans to expand in 2025, 2026. But definitely Mumbai is the home for ER, and we are going to be running a lot more courses here in Mumbai. Yeah.
I think when we started this project, if I'm being honest with you, it was supposed to be like
Yeah.
a one-off.
I agree.
To
Really?
visit, to visit
Absolutely.
show. I've never
One-
been to
yeah.
India, so I
Yeah.
wanted it as an excuse to come to India.
Just
To
a
be
trip?
honest, just as a trip. That was literally how it started off. That's what I wanted, just to come see India, see what it's all about. I think the growth of the company has been really great this year. Touch wood, we've been very blessed from that point of view. I think the growth has been a lot quicker than what we can catch up with, if I'm being honest. And the thing is, I think we just want to consolidate what we've got at the moment. I think growing too quickly might really stretch us a lot more.
Makes sense,
we are
yeah.
clinicians at the moment as well. So I work still 4 or 5 days a week as an endodontist in clinic. I've also got my own courses that I run in the UK. And then this has added more responsibility on top of families and other responsibilities that come with that. You don't want to be too stretched to the point either you then start to drop a lot of stuff or it starts to compromise your outcome. This is really, really important. So we need to be careful about how we
Right.
do this.
Yeah, we want to do more, but we also want to take it step by step.
Correct.
Like we have a lot on our plates now because we're literally, the course is out of passion, but in real life we also do a lot more.
It's become its own company basically now,
Yeah.
And when it comes to, see, expanding is easy. You can always find someone to have you over. And I would say this even within one country. Like, let's say I want to expand. The questions that we think based on the values of what we want to give every delegate is, will the quality always match?
Correct.
Okay, so you can go somewhere, but then when somebody else is the host, right, in another country, will they take it as seriously as we do to give us what we want to give to the delegates for the learning outcomes that we think are the best at the end of it?
Yeah, and to be honest, we've been named or commented as very picky. Like we do a lot of meetings before we go somewhere
Yeah.
because we make sure we have this. Like we want the course to hold the reputation wherever we go. Like we feel if someone is getting something in Mumbai, it should get the same thing in London, then maybe Dubai. So it should be validated all
Consistent.
across. It should be consistent. So we're always like, suppose if you're doing a program maybe in Dubai, it has taken us 1 year to plan everything. Lots of meetings going behind it. So that itself is a lot of hard work behind it to just arrange and fix things, right? A lot of logistics
I mean,
which go
we
behind
do get
it.
approached by a lot of people.
Yeah.
The reality is, though, it's what is their motive? If their motive isn't going to be exactly what we want, we're not going to take it on because we're not going to destroy the brand and we're not going to destroy our reputation at the same time. It's not worth it. Either we do it the way we want to do it and it's always consistently good, or we pass on that opportunity and we'll wait for something else. We're not in any desperate rush to take on anything at the moment. So we're in a good place at this moment in time.
And when it comes to expanding, so I'll just give you like the groundwork that is required, right? If we're doing something in India or in the UK, for example, we have to take at least 10, 12 days off work.
Correct. Tremendous amount of work.
Like just drop everything and this is priority. Now we get a lot of messages saying that, oh, when you come to Delhi, when you come to Bangalore, for example, right? And, we would love to do it.
Yeah.
Trust me, we would love to do it. But then the question beckons is, do they have what we require and who can be on ground to help us with it? Because if you come as a delegate, you've come, say, through somebody else, you don't get what you've been spoken of. That's going to drop the quality. And of course, you don't want to hear that, right? At the end of it. So we don't mind sticking to where we can as long as we can produce and reproduce it for every delegate. Now, mind you, we've said this, that every course you come to, same content, same everything, the course is going to be different. The first course was different. The second course was different. Dubai was different. Between London and Bexhill was
completely
different. And I can promise you, Bombay in 2 days is going to be different. But the quality, the standards, and because it's like the keen eye to detail, right? We are obsessive. I think that's the trait of endodontist, to be fair, right? It's every millimeter that counts at the end of it. So I think expanding it's easy to do, but I think it's going to really take it. It's not going to be good if we can't maintain the quality we want
And
to
I
give.
think I want to add to that, I've got a lot of this and they've heard, we've got this, it's a bunch of lads getting together and teaching, but it's not that. We have a proper procedure, how we take it to feedbacks, how the quality is controlled, how the governance is done,
Right.
how the feedback is taken and how we're improving it, how complaints are received. There is a proper procedure on how the course is run.
We talk about this a lot, by the way.
Absolutely,
We talk about it all the time. Other thing as well is the company still is in infancy. I don't want to be in a situation where we're growing it.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, corporates where they grow very quickly, but they've lost the core value now. I don't want to be in that situation. I'd rather just we grow. If we need to grow, we will grow.
Organically.
If it stays where it is and it's doing great, then that's fine. We'll evaluate how we want to play it up, But still, it's in infancy. I really don't want to rush things and get bigger than we actually are. Let's just wait, see how it goes, keep evaluating. We're still tweaking it, by the way. This is not by any means the final product yet.
Because
So we're
this
still
is
tweaking a
not
lot.
what we want to do. I mean, it's not our requirement, but we're just doing this out of passion,
Correct.
and we've been very fortunate that people are liking
I
it.
think a lot of people don't realize one thing is a lot of this stuff is actually self-funded.
Absolutely.
We fund a lot of this
Yeah.
from our pocket. There isn't, a lot of this stuff is still self-funded, but we still plug a lot of the gaps financially in this program.
Yeah.
And that's how we keep the prices low. Otherwise the prices would be far, far higher than what it is. We're still subsidizing it.
Yeah.
Personally.
So an India tour is in the works.
You know what? Like, I would not go that far just yet, because I would say that literally just before we started this podcast, right? We three are sitting around right over here, and we were just discussing about, yes, the course is going well, getting good feedback, but this means we have to improve it even more. So I would rather work on improvement, and I'm sure, three of us would. We three would rather move on improving a
have.
course, one kind of a course,
Than stretching
rather
it.
than stretching ourselves and then compromising on the bare basics that
Yeah.
may become a problem for the delegate.
Right.
Right?
And us.
And us.
If it
And-
starts to tire us out, we might maybe not enjoy it anymore.
So, when I think about it, doing a small one-day program itself sounds hectic. You guys have managed to start a one-day program, making it a two-day thing, start from one city, go to a different country, and it's becoming bigger by the day. So, when you started, what are the challenges you guys faced? Because I'm sure the journey has not been so easy.
So I would say again, it's very country specific, to be very honest. Because see, Ammar has been teaching in the UK for a while. Gurdeep is a professor, so he of course has been teaching for a very long time. I've been in India, of course, taught in. I mean, I have taught on courses as well as during my training at the university there. But it's geographic based. So I would always go back to the first thing that we mentioned in the start, which was the failure aspect. Right? Every country has a different requirement. It gauges you differently and has a different requirement. Okay, so when we started off the thing, we came up with a very extensive 5-day course. Do you remember that? It was 5 days.
We got really enthusiastic about
Yeah,
it.
we
I
got
was like,
very carried away with
Yeah.
it. Okay, now we're gonna do 3 days endo, going into the restorative aspect, which will be done by prosthodontists from the UK as well. And because we're like, okay, we're gonna do this in this way. The price is gonna be this. We got on a bank as well to give financial aid to delegates if they found it expensive. Okay, so we work those aspects out. The question then beckons is, from their end, who the fuck are these guys? Who are they? It's
a big investment.
Yeah, and we were nobody. I mean, even till date, I would say that there's a lot of people bigger than us, better than us. You can't really compete with that. But we're just trying to be us. And that 2 years made us work a little bit harder. And, we come, because we want to set up a course in a different place. The important thing to know is that you can't always just come up. You have to push yourself out there.
Correct.
And that is going to help people get a bit more like, you know what, that's a bit more reliable. And then put your face on it. Okay. So I think that's exactly what we did. We had a 2-year lull, and mind you, we failed in the first five-day program. We tried 4 days.
That was scrap.
Out. 3 days. Out. 2 days. Off you fucking go. Literally, it was that. And
I think you need to be, just adding on to that,
Yeah.
is you need to be confident to go, that's not going to work. I'm not going to continue pursuing something that isn't going to work. You just have to give it up and then scrap it. Yes, you were saying.
yeah. So, and I think after a point where we started getting more credibility, I would say. And of course, getting the Royal College accreditation really, really helped. Because, okay, it helps in selling, but that's not the point. The whole point of getting that accreditation is that we know for a fact that we have to deliver that standard that we have signed up for. It's very easy to go be like, you know what, we'll do 2-3 courses and just run it how we want to do it.
Yep.
But no, there are outcomes to it. As Gurdeep says, there's feedback form to it. It's an 8-page feedback form, all right, which goes to the Royal College from each delegate. So it helps us not have any complacency in what we want to do, and this means that we have to keep doing it the way it's intended to be.
Right.
So that's what I would say. I think every market is different. You gauge something, you don't, and then you learn from it. And now we're still learning. We still fail every step of the way. We've tried different markets, been to other countries too. We failed. It didn't work.
And I think in terms of the struggle, I think the logistics are very difficult. Every country has different logistics. You end up managing. And to be very honest, we don't have PAs. We are each other's PA.
exactly.
This is what is happening now. We try to put the load on each other on how much ever we can do. Like Shaurya has mentioned, like
free,
Ammar
who's
has
got time
mentioned.
off, yeah.
We're actually taking time off work to come and teach on such courses. And then, the accreditation takes a lot of time. Like it takes sometimes more than a year to get something like that. About the accreditation is just to add value to the program. Not that we are not confident or we don't believe in ourselves, but we also want a delegate to get something when they have a certificate. When they put it on their clinics, in their houses,
Has
the
value.
wall has value. Something that goes on the wall should have value, right? So I think it is not easy to do courses in different parts of the world, but like I would again say, we've been very grateful.
Yeah.
We've got this year has been a very good opening for us.
I think, can I just add one thing? I think the biggest thing from a personal point of view is imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
Because you are putting yourself out there as someone who no one's heard of. This is when I started my journey. No one's heard of. You're putting your neck above the parapet. You don't know who's going to come to chop it off for you. And you don't know what the complications of that's going to be on the market. You don't know what people are saying about you. And you have to just have a thick skin, keep at it. And eventually then people will start to recognize you. That's when people start having a little bit of trust in what you've got to do. And also you're showing your cases, you're showing what you're doing. That is the hardest part, is how do you, as an individual first and foremost, become something that then gives that someone else sees a value in.
Yeah.
This is the hardest part. I think this is by far the hardest part.
So consistency over everything else.
You have to keep doing it, yeah, for a
and-
long. I mean, my first few courses, I
Yeah.
had nobody.
And I
Like,
think we
you know?
take criticism very well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if we're being
Yeah.
criticized, we take it very well. We don't go and shout back. We take it, we absorb it, and we try to see how much we can change if it's meant to change.
Correct.
If it's the right thing that we need to change, Otherwise, we're not going back to someone and saying no.
Yeah. Even
We
when-
don't get into that. We
even when-
accept it.
Even
that's-
when we negotiate with people,
Yeah.
and I'm not happy with something, I'll be like, guys, that was shit. That was a shitty negotiation. That went fucking awful. We've just been robbed. That wasn't what we wanted to do. That was shit. Start again, and we'll be vocal about it. We will be
Yeah.
vocal about it. Like I'm not happy about what's just happened. And that's really important. That everyone knows where and sometimes Gurdeep will be like, I'm not happy about this. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the story. And it's like, right, fuck it. He's not doing it. We're not doing it. And that's the end of that's that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we are very critical. You might think that we're really good mates, but we're also very critical of one
Yeah.
another.
Yeah, and
you
you
know,
need to be
I will
transparent.
pull you, we'll pull you up and say, listen, that wasn't great. That didn't go well. Or that the way that you started that negotiation, the beginning was all bad.
Yeah.
We got eaten up. Stuff like that. I think that's really important.
And to add to that as well, you think that, fine, we're doing this podcast, we make it sound that we're trying our very best to make sure everything is going to be great. I'll be honest with you. Last course, we had problems.
Yep.
We had a delegate leave. And it was because we were a bit lapse of concentration in terms of what we had to do. Still got to keep a chin up and learn from that. And I think that these are the things that is always going to make you get better. When we do our feedback forms, there's a graph as to what people are saying, what needs to be improved on. We speak about that. Because if you come to a course and you're not happy, it has to matter to us. If it doesn't matter to us, then you should not be on that course. It's as simple as that. We are there because you want to learn something.
You've invested
we have
a lot
to
of
deliver.
money. From an Indian viewpoint, Indian market viewpoint, it's a big investment. It's not a small investment.
It's a price-conscious market.
Correct.
It is.
Absolutely. So
And I think it's not just Indian market. Anywhere you do the course, there is a price tag, and people
There's
are concerned.
expectation.
Yeah, even practitioners practicing for 10 long years are still thinking, should I invest? Because there are so many courses out there.
Correct.
How do you
Yeah.
choose?
How do you stand out?
How do you stand out? What is different about us? So I think that is how we're trying to be slightly different from the others. That we try to keep it very, very casual when we teach.
And when you talk about learning as well as from the back end of stuff, so we famously take everybody out for dinner drinks after the first day because we think it really helps in terms of how we have been bred up. In an education standpoint, there's always a barrier between who's teaching and who's not, right?
Yeah.
And that's not how we've done our training, our post-grad, okay? So we think it's very, very important to have everybody included and make everyone feel that you're coming as a colleague, not as anything less than that.
And that's our authentic self. This is how we
Yeah.
are anyway.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you get true feedback from these guys as well. And
Because they let their hair down. That's why.
and we want to hear that. We want to know what they're saying. And it's never taken to heart. It's always like, you know what, guys, this person said this. And if you get 2-3 more people saying it, that means that there is a problem.
We're going to have to stand up and look into this now.
Yeah?
Yeah, the thing is, you've been to courses, like when we were younger, I'm sure we've been to courses where the mentors or the course, people delivering the course would not even come and talk to you.
Yeah.
No.
It's so difficult to just approach them and ask them a question. You can only ask a question in the last 5 minutes, last 10
Yeah.
minutes.
Or not
and you're
all.
Yeah, not at all.
Or email me.
Yeah,
or
or
email
email
me,
me,
and
which
you'll
is
never get
never
an answer- you'll never
replied.
get an
So
answer
that's
back.
about us. We are always there. We will answer you. We might go out our way to answer you.
Yeah.
We have our delegates now who keep in touch with us. We have a group where all the cases that are being posted, we are keeping a constant watch on what they're doing.
It's nice.
We are following them up. We are helping them still. Even though I've done the course 1 year back.
So even after the course, it's continuing.
Some of
education.
them even thought about maybe specializing.
Yeah.
They're actually looking at international programs
Yeah.
now. Some of them want to change their lifestyle because they've seen, I want to do what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's made them want to change themselves from a personal point of view. Forget dentistry. As a person, they want to change. Does that make sense? And that for us is quite inspiring because I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But there must be something that they're seeing in us that they maybe want to emulate, which is nice.
It's also where they come from. They come from a system where people are looked down upon. And if you ask even a simple question, you are made fun of.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's how we have been.
So that's exactly the reason why everybody gets a brochure, okay? And that's got the ER disclaimers. That is, I mean, I'll say it out loud. That is a swipe on how we were taught and how we were made to feel in Indian education,
Yeah.
right? So that is all about equality, and of course, there's quirks to it as well. That is important because you've got to
Yeah.
make it funny.
Yeah.
But what we've always seen is that when people come in and read that, they're gonna laugh. Suddenly, the room opens up about 30%. Now, what's important about the room opening up for 30% is
We can
know
talk.
that this is unrehearsed. It's your course at the end of it. We're just here to teach, and I had to slide that in there.
Yeah, that's the tagline, and we use this tagline among three of us in many different ways. There's a
Yeah.
lot of pun attached
Even,
to that.
even little things like don't call me sir. I
Yeah.
don't like you calling
Yeah.
me sir. I'm not your boss. I'm not higher than you. I actually just don't like that term. You know? So don't call me sir. Just call me by my name. Call me by anything you want, but don't call me sir. I don't like it. You know?
It's shocking if you say them, don't call me sir.
I don't like
Yeah,
it.
it is.
I really
Yeah.
hate it. I
It
don't
takes
like
them a
it.
lot to actually come out of that. And another thing, if you have a question, we always say this: there's no stupid questions.
No.
There's no wrong answer. There's always the better one. Okay? Because we have three sat in a room where we thought something was stupid, and it was asked by somebody else. That means that there are many more people thinking about it.
Just not
And-
piping up to say it.
And if you don't break those barriers, we don't enjoy teaching. I'll be
No,
honest with you. If people
no.
don't ask questions, we don't enjoy teaching.
No.
And if you don't ask the questions, you're not going to get the most that you would want from a course as well.
Right.
So I think that's very important when we look at what we do, what the whole ideology is, the hierarchy system as well. Because I think by the second day, when you do this part of things, then you start showing them what you are.
And then they go out for the drinks, and then
Then
they
we
come
go out
back
for
the day
drinks.
after. It's just like
The next day, on the Sunday,
totally chilled.
it is just it is a different ambience altogether. Honestly,
It's about breaking the ice, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
once that's happening, and I think if you're a dentist yourself, endo is endo, right? How much can you change in endo? Okay, there's a lot of research, a lot of evidence coming in, and lots of things are changing. But in terms of teaching, it has to evolve. So I think teaching now has to be fun.
Yep.
We don't want to teach the way we learned. We want to change the whole
Yeah.
whole principle of teaching, and I think people are grasping better.
But there's some really good things, I must admit. I mean, I'm not an Indian citizen. There's some really beautiful things about this culture. I think the respect is really nice. I think that respect for someone who's more learned is actually really nice, that traditional value. They talk to you with respect. They talk to you as someone they trust. These are really nice values. I don't think we should give that up. I think these are beautiful values that
Right.
I've seen from the Indian dentist. To be honest, I like these values personally.
Right.
These traditional values.
So if
They're nice.
I mean, if I may ask, who is actually the course for? Is it for recent graduates? Is it for practitioners who have passed long back and want to get back into clinical dentistry? Or is it for endo specialists or specialties from other branches?
To be honest with you, the course was designed for everyone when we started this. It wasn't designed for a specific age group. But over time, what we've seen is maybe the first, post 5 to 7 years after graduation really is our strongest cohort. And then you've got some specialists who also wanted to see what else is out there because, they want to maybe add more to their repertoire of knowledge. But we've also had specialists in the other fields, orthodontics, oral surgery, because how in India you're a one-stop shop for everything. You can't be a monospec, truly. Otherwise, I think you're going to struggle financially with your business. So we've seen a cohort. I think the cohort really is between the age, I would say maybe 27 to 30,
around that
32. I
age,
think that's probably
yeah.
our biggest cohort.
That's the age group, yeah.
But I really do admire the clinicians who are a little bit older who come on. They're conscientious of their needs. I think a lot of times, I'm Middle Eastern of background.
Yeah.
Sometimes the older generation, I don't want to generalize, can have a little bit of an ego. I've been doing this for 10 years. What do you know? I've been doing this for 20 years. What do you know? Of 30 years, what can you teach me that I don't know? Like this. This is normal. It's human nature. There's no. I think this is universal across the globe. But some cultures maybe grab onto this notion a little bit more than others. So I actually respect the older clinicians who go out of their comfort zone to go, right, I'm going to go and see this guy who's 20 years younger than me or 15 years younger than me. Let me see what he's got to say. And I think quite a lot of them come out being really surprised. I didn't know this. I didn't even know this exists. I learned more in these 2 days than I've learned in 10 years. Like this, and that makes you happy.
Yeah, that's all right.
different.
Like I think if we, I mean, at least for me, after like 15 years, if there's something new, I would go and learn it.
Yeah.
I can't just say I know everything.
Yeah.
Because I really won't know everything. if I'm not really attending courses. In fact, we attend courses. We were there in Glasgow in September,
Yeah.
attending the IFIA. You know, we still attend courses to learn more. We go and listen to people whom we like.
I mean, I listened to his lecture when he did the
Yeah,
bioceramics.
yeah.
I mean, I know about bioceramics, but he went really deep into it. The first couple of courses, I was actually listening to his lecture. There's some things I didn't know. You know, so
And it's exactly like that. When these guys speak, because it's unrehearsed, you think, I mean, if it was rehearsed, you would be like, okay, you know what's coming, right? I'm not going to lie. I started teaching with Ammar, about 2 years ago?
Yep.
First time in London,
Yep.
right? What I saw then, what I see now, every time I've sat for it, right? And Gurdeep, I've been teaching in this year. Every time you sit for it, you learn something new.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that is also fucking brilliant, though, isn't it? That even though you are one person is teaching, the other two will be in the room because you just never know what you're going to pick up.
I mean,
Yeah, and
even the fiber post stuff
yeah.
we did at Bexhill.
Yeah.
It's something
And-
really simple, like drawing a circle and putting the post in there so
Yeah.
you don't lose it when you want to bond
Yeah.
it. Everyone thought that was a genius idea. I'm like, it's just just literally draw a circle and put the post in it so you don't lose it on the tray. You know, it's people love that, and you know that's
and out of daily practice, when we're working, we share cases among
Yeah.
ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
that's learning.
Yeah.
You know, we would discuss like how would you do this differently.
Yeah, or fuck
So
this
that-
up.
yeah. Just a
we did
casual
we did
talk.
fuck
You know,
up,
like
like,
we
there's
do
no-
make mistakes still,
Yeah.
and we tell each other, see what I did after this many years of experience. So that's quite normal. Yeah.
I think you're human. I think at the end of the day we're human, and there's
Yeah.
only so much we can do.
So I think answering your question, for me, this course is for everyone who likes
Correct.
endo.
Yeah.
You know, I would just label it that way. Everyone who likes endo out there, this
Come
is
and
your
see it.
course.
Yeah, come and do it.
Yes, in future we would come out with advanced courses. We would put a tagline for that. Okay, this is caliber 2. You know, like we can't have people below that. So,
Yeah.
but this one is for everyone. The one we're
Correct.
running now.
Yeah, but when you say it's when you want to expand to others, so is it like a multidisciplinary approach where you involve other specialities in
Correct.
the course?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
So-
yeah. No, go ahead.
Should I go?
No, go.
Okay. So, so just going back first to your other question, when it comes to everyone, right? The first course, we had about 8%-ish of endodontists join us for the first course. Second course, that was maybe about 14-15% on the demograph. This course, we have 30%. So this is also telling us that people are talking about it and they're getting to learn more than and different things that you probably are not getting as a specialist. That's number one. Going to the multidisciplinary aspect of things.
I think just to add something on to just
Yeah.
that. I think some courses, or let's say some, not even institutes, I would say some courses for some individuals might also be teaching the same stuff for the last 20, 30 years. And you can't keep selling the same product
Yeah.
when the world has moved
Yeah.
in so many ways, you know, from digital dentistry, social media,
Yeah.
material science, bonding protocol. There's so much that's moved on. You cannot keep teaching, for example, step back technique with a K-file. You can if you want to learn the technique on how to use a K-file well, to master the K-file. But genuinely, there's better systems out there that give you predictability. Do you see my point? So you can't keep selling or plugging the same stuff all the time. The world has moved on, and people know the world has moved on. So either some people must move on with it, or they're going to be left behind with the times, you know, because the world's become one big place now. You can go anywhere in the world and learn about anything you want. It's become one big village. It's not, or one big globe. There's no more borders any longer, to be honest with you. Okay, so if you want to find that information, you're going somewhere else. Sorry.
Yeah, and just to add to that, before I get onto the multidisciplinary aspect of things, is we also talk a lot about social media, dentistry. Okay, the world right now is in a place where people are impressionable.
Correct.
You look at something, it looks fabulous. The question is, does it make sense? Is it relevant?
Yep.
Is it going to make your life harder?
Was there any point to it in the first place? Sometimes you look
Exactly.
at it and you're like, that was pointless. You know?
And can you replicate that yourself?
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, you look at a lot of things, and this is where I think it's a bit dangerous when it comes to that, because
You need to filter.
you need to filter. You should know your own limitations before trying to replicate something. And if you're trying to replicate it, does
Question
that
it.
person know enough who's teaching you about it? Because
Question
I think,
it. Yeah, question.
and where courses are right now, the courses are in a place where people are teaching what's in demand.
Correct.
That is a problem. You're not fucking Sky or Tata. Like,
Yeah.
just put something on demand and you're going to find that.
Right.
You're not that. You have to teach the bare principles of things.
Why
and
you're
stick
doing
to
it.
that. Why you're doing that.
And then if you change your philosophy, then go ahead and do whatever you like.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
at least understand the basics.
Right.
You know?
So when it comes to tying up with other specialties, so we are from a restorative branch. Okay, so when you look at how things work in the UK, when you do endo, you're not just doing endo. You're doing endo at, of course, that specialist level. You're doing also perio and pros at the core master's level.
Correct.
Okay.
Because everything has an interrelation. Endo perio, perio pros, perio endo. Okay, so
Endo surgery, endo implants.
yeah. So we of course want to give something more holistic. So we are looking at expanding in that sense, where we can teach people how to restore endodontically treated teeth, for example. But then again, we're not going to dig into that ourselves. That is not we've done it, a good amount of it. We know the principles of it,
But it's not
but
our science.
there's someone better than
Right
us
out
who's
there,
going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But who's going to be with the same philosophy as us. So we're looking into that, where we can get people to broaden what we are doing, but it will be in tandem. It will be interlinked in a way
Within
that
the
when you-
philosophy.
Yeah,
Within
I
the
think
philosophy.
I think in the current course we are covering the bare basics because we really can't do endo without perio, prosto, restorative. Everything goes together, you
Yeah.
know. We are covering that, but yes, on a precisely tailored form, we want our delegates to get something from an expert. You know, like if we know we can give endo the best, we want someone else to come and give the multidisciplinary aspect. Let's say perio, let's say prosto, right?
Yep.
So I would add to that again. Yes, there are more things coming, and we will be announcing things gradually. And I'm sure the mindset for anyone joining the faculty will be the same. You know, we are expanding faculty for sure.
Correct.
So we'll go back to your journey as a student in endo. I mean, if you guys can share, why did you pick endo as your master's program? Why did you choose to become an endodontist? And in short, maybe how the journey was, your training program.
You want to start?
I think you guys can start.
he's still thinking where it started.
No, I know where it started, but I just want to be very honest, and I want to give you why. I think as an undergrad, maybe I'm not very sure if I liked endo, but then there was someone mentoring me back in the days who said I have really thin hands, and maybe you'll be a
What was her
very good endodontist. Of course, it was a lady, and I can't mention
Exactly,
names.
what was the name?
So I think that got me a bit motivated. But yes, I struggled to get into endodontics into a school in the UK. It was not easy. I took years to go into the school, like do the exams and then the the entries,
Right.
whatever it is.
Right.
But I think that's what it seeded into my head that maybe I'm not sure if I can do ortho. I'm not sure if I can do prosto. But yeah, somewhere maybe if I have thin hands, I can do a lot with endo. But yeah, that was my dumb bit. But yeah, it worked well. I think so. Yeah, I don't know about them.
I mean, I didn't like endo as an undergrad. I'm not going to lie to you. I wasn't particularly good at it, but I found it quite quirky. There was something about it that was interesting. And then I think when I finished off dental school, I did my first years of ET. It's vocational training. You don't get your full registration until you do this 1 year in the UK. My trainer had a master's degree in endo, so he taught me endo, and I understood it more. And then I did 2 years in the hospital, which had a big endodontic rotation within it, and I used to enjoy it because I was being trained by a specialist
Yeah.
to do it. I worked in practice for 2 years. I was doing quite a lot of endo then as well. I bought my own stuff. And then I did a staff grade job in endo. I met another guy called Bob Philpott, was a great guy. And he basically inspired me to do it. And I used to go to work enjoying it. I used to enjoy going to work. And that's when I realized that was the thing. I didn't really enjoy much else in dentistry, if I'm being honest. I don't like perio. I don't like crown and bridge work, pros. I don't like dentures. I don't like ortho. So oral surgery and endo was the only two things I enjoyed, which are actually at the both spectrums of the thing. And so that's why I went to endo. He's like, just if that's what you want to do, go and do it. But if you want to do it properly, go and specialize.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got into endo. And I have a real passion, but I really enjoy it. I get a buzz out of it. And so that's sort of contagious enthusiasm still there.
I think before Shaurya starts, I want to say this. I teach undergrads and I always tell them, like I get so many people ask me, I think give it time.
Yeah.
Give it good time. The speciality will come to you.
Correct.
You don't go to the speciality.
Correct.
It comes and picks
Correct.
you up.
It does pick
and
you up.
then you take it up from there.
Correct.
It shouldn't be you've just graduated today and then you're just signing up into a master's program.
Yeah.
No, you're a mechanic.
To be honest with you, I actually want to do ortho.
Yeah.
Honestly, the undergrad, I enjoyed ortho.
Mate,
Never
you're
knew that.
You're
Yeah,
out
because-
of ER now.
Because ortho makes
out.
money now.
Yeah. No, actually, it doesn't. But that was the thing that I found quite interesting. There was something about it that was a little bit unusual. It felt like a little bit detached from dentistry a little bit. So I found that quite interesting. But then when I started doing a rotation in peds and ortho, I was like, I actually can't see myself ever doing this. Like, there's
Yeah.
not the, I would not enjoy this, and things sort of changed from that point of view.
you have to try things to know what you end up liking.
You
right?
need to try a
Like
lot
you
of
said,
things.
You
You
need to
can't directly
practice.
jump
It's
in.
very easy. You
Correct.
need to
Give it
practice.
time.
You need to see a lot of patience to see what you
Try a
like.
lot of things.
Yeah. You just can't make an idea. Okay, if someone is just telling you your neighbor is an endodontist, just go. You know,
Yeah.
the neighbor is going to supply you with
Yeah.
notes. That it doesn't work that way.
I mean, even general
See,
dentistry. I did
yeah.
that general dentistry for 2 years, and I must admit, after 2 years, I didn't like it. I really disliked general dentistry. I just did not enjoy it.
I know a lot of people who have done that
Yeah.
and did the masters that way.
Absolutely.
Man,
So,
like
yeah.
our masters, so we go to do endo, right? I fucking hate pros. I hate it.
I don't
But
enjoy
we have
it.
to do a lot of pros.
Correct. But then you sort of get a passion for it as well, a little bit. Not passion, but no.
I want to cry every
not-
time I
it's-
see
it's-
occlusion.
It's not
or
passion,
any of that.
but you start
You
to show interest in
yeah,
it because
yeah.
you have to do it. So you
Correct.
have to show interest in it. You know, you
Correct.
can't sort of turn a blind eye because it's a massive chunk of our job.
Yeah.
You know, so you're sort of forced to know more about it. You know,
And that only means that, you know, every specialty is linked in a way. So even as endodontists, we still need to know
quite a bit about perio.
interrelation between endo-ortho.
Correct.
We need to know guidelines about that.
Correct.
I had no clue this existed before I started.
No, did I?
So I'm going to cut you, and we want to know, why did you choose endo? Like,
Mate, oh god. So we spoke about how I got into dentistry in the first place. We know all about my
It's
journey.
a crazy story.
Okay,
Have you heard of it?
let's talk about endo. You know, why endo? How crazy is that?
Oh, no, that's not that crazy. It's like a lot of my other subjects, but it was the worst subject. I
Okay.
got grace marks in my final year for endo. So, well, you know, like I barely passed. Honestly, I barely passed. And then you finish off with your internship. Not done a single endo till I got my degree. I've not done a single endo.
Yeah.
I just knew in theory what K files, etc. do.
Just
Yeah.
sending out a message to Kings: be careful when you're recruiting.
I mean, they also had the struggle when I was there initially. But going back to it, like, you know, when you finish, you know what you're inadequate at. And then I started working a hospital job close by. And I started seeing what things are. So now it makes sense. Because I'll be honest with you, in undergrad, at least over here, you have to do a lot of things and imagine them.
Yeah.
You're not going to get to do a lot of them. Even though it's a part of your grading and your exams, you won't do a lot of it. Right? So I had no clue. And then I understood it a little bit. I said, okay, do you know what? This is a bread and butter apparently in dentistry. Let me learn a little bit more. Then I went on to do a course in Bangalore for 4 months to get a hand of it.
Endo course.
Endo course, solely endo. Got a bit better, and that slowly started to make a little bit more sense, right? Said, okay, let's enhance this further. Then I did 1 year fellowship in Bombay itself, which is good. Opened up a different narrative. Then went to London for 4 months to do a course again, to then realize that, you know what, I want to do this more. Then Kings happened. Don't know how it happened. It happened. For the first year, I hated fucking endo. I hated it. But that's because I didn't understand that level of it. Every country has different levels. I didn't understand that level of it. Till you work yourself to the bone, and then, yeah, here we are now, being philosophical about what we should do and what others should do.
Yeah, I think it needs time. I think to the young dentists out there, you know, like they shouldn't compare themselves to specialists.
Correct.
Specialists have taken good 10-15 years to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like, don't compare your root canals to them, because
Can I just add something to that? I teach a lot of undergrads, and quite a lot of the times they'll say, you know, when did you feel competent doing endo? Honestly, they'll tell me, when did you feel, you know, you could do it in free flow? I said after 3,000 endos. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's when I felt I sort of had seen enough of everything to go, I've been here before.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not gonna. Does that make sense? And that's when I felt truly like just my hands can do the job. I don't have to think about it too much. It's sort of I've got a pattern now, a recipe. You know.
Yeah, so it's like that. Like, I trained with a very big name in the UK, and I was told after I graduated as a specialist, consider yourself a specialist after 3 years now.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you need that much of experience, even after being a specialist, to consider yourself
I used to
good,
drive
right?
to work in the first year and a half as a specialist, anxious. I used to
Yeah.
feel anxiety.
Yeah.
Because like patients are paying lots of money, you've got a badge saying I'm a specialist,
Yeah.
they expect some sort of miracle, and I didn't feel I
There
was
is
still
pressure.
at that. I didn't
Lot
feel
of pressure being
Yeah, I didn't
Absolutely,
feel. I didn't
yeah.
feel like I was that person.
Absolutely.
You know, and I
I
still
think-
hadn't made my mistakes. I needed to do my. I needed to get my mistakes out of my system. You know, I think a lot of people don't see that. You do have to make your mistakes.
And even now, I mean, I'm sure it's the same with these guys as well. Even after years of experience, I'm the least amongst them, right? But I'm sure it's the same with these guys. There may be that odd case that's going to haunt you before.
Correct.
Because even though you may have done it, it's
You're not
never
looking forward
easy.
to it.
And it can be as simple as a primary endo.
Correct.
Okay? There's categorizations are different, but I think even primary endo sometimes can be very challenging.
Yeah,
and
and
the more we speak, it's funny to know that, especially in molars, the three of us prefer doing 2-visit primary endos as opposed to single-visit retreatments.
Correct.
So that tells you never underestimate something based on what's been always
Sometimes you
taught.
can see it. Sometimes you can see a PA and it all looks great.
Yeah.
You're like, this will be a smash and grab,
Yeah.
in and out 1 hour,
And then boom.
and then you're like stuck there for 2 hours. You're like, I don't know what just happened here.
Yeah, and then you just discharge the patient.
Yeah.
Come in next time, you know.
Yeah, calcium hydroxide. We'll see. You somehow have to find some solution for next time.
all
Then
have
we run
done
for
that.
each other.
I think we all have done that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I think people should understand that honestly, the difference between probably us and them is we commit maybe less mistakes at work every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not by any point the polished article by any
Absolutely.
means
So-
of stretch.
So we have something known as this is how we do endo. It's a course manual. There's disclaimers in that as well. And one of the points says that this is not going to make you an endo god, because even we are still being humbled by endo.
Correct.
The minute you start thinking something is easy,
You're stuffed.
it's a fucking long
Yeah,
treatment.
yeah,
It
you're
can
just-
be a central incisor for all I
Yeah.
care.
And you'll
You just know.
stuff it.
So I've spoken a lot about post-graduation and maybe clinical practice. But if I may ask you guys, if you guys have thought about doing dentistry again, because I keep asking this question to every dentist who comes on this podcast is, if given a chance, would you want to be a dentist again? Would you do dentistry all over again? If given a chance.
I think Shaurya will take the lead on this question.
Or is it?
Yeah.
Just throw me under the bus.
Yes, please.
Just like that.
I'm just driving the bus over you now.
To be very honest, not in a lifetime. But
Why is that?
I think that's based on the demographic as well. Okay. I just think we've always been drilled in India in general from the parents. It's either medicine, dentistry,
Engineering.
law, or engineering.
Engineering, yeah.
These three things, once you get in there, your life is sorted. It's not fucking sorted. So if you ask me where I am now, would I do it again? Maybe. Maybe. Only because I have the right people with me, people I love working with. Yes, there's a lot of mounting work to get on with, though. But if I had a choice, I think that generation is gone. That era is gone where these confounding professional degrees, as people call it, is going to sort you out for life. I think we give a lot of undervalue stuff to people like, who are into creative design, for example.
Even
And-
internships.
Yeah, internships,
are
yeah.
doing well.
So you look at how we've designed our stuff. I love how my creative design has done it. I mean, we love it. And these guys sitting at the back, they're recording as well. They make us look and do what we do in a way that we do. So I think that's very undervalued. And I think dentistry is in a place now, depends on where you are, of course. I think it's become very competitive. It's become more market
Well,
sales than
bit
a
stale.
medical job as well.
Still, yeah.
So, if I have to do it again, my alternative. I would have otherwise worked behind the bar, right? Or worked in the bar industry because I loved it, not because I like drinking. That's different. But yeah, I think I would look at things differently if I had the option, if I had the choice, and there was more things available to me in terms of knowing what's out there. So it's a catch-22. Where I am now, maybe yes, I would do it again because I got to meet amazing people. I'm working with amazing people as well. I got to train Kings, which is my heart. I love it, but I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Though? Like I think Ammar will probably have another version of this as
Yeah.
well.
I think similarly to what you said, I think Asian backgrounds are all very similar. Medicine, dentistry, accountancy, law, engineering. That's it. Everything else is no good. But you can't build a society on this. You can't build society on these people. That's a problem. That's number one. Number two, I think at 17, what do I know at 17? When I made that decision, in the UK, it's 17 that you make that decision. I know nothing at 17. You know, you're making a comparison based on your dad or your next door neighbor or some guy that, you know, an uncle in the community like this, you know. It's not great. It's not a great way to make that decision. I think the American system is better. Yeah, okay, obviously more expensive, more debt, but at least you know yourself. You've done a degree, you're a little bit older, you're a bit maturer. You can then make a much better conscious decision about what you're going to do with your life. At 17, you're basically you're living your parents' dream rather than yours, right?
Absolutely.
For me personally, I actually want to do economics. I've always loved economics. It made sense to me. It sort of fitted my personality more. I think I realized that the more I was doing dentistry, actually, that's why I became a specialist, really, because GDP work, I was stuck in a room with my nurse, seeing the same number of patients every day, and I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not, you know, because when you do something like dentistry, it's a very academically challenging degree. So you think that you're going to be using your academic knowledge, but actually you become more of a technician, really. You're doing the same stuff day in, day out. It gets pretty repetitive unless you enjoy it. So that's for me where I started having a bit of a crisis about what do I do with my career. Do I continue plowing more money, time and effort into this? Or do I now pull back and take a drastic measure? But that's difficult also from a Middle Eastern background to do that. Not a lot of people make that shift.
Right.
No, I've been very blessed so far. Things have gone well, so it's very difficult for me now to make that comparison because I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
But if I graduated now, you'd be better off doing something else, in my opinion. You know.
But like you said, you need to give it time. And
You need to give it time, but sometimes how much time is enough time? You know, there's some people who've been in a career all their life and they hate it. They're now stuck in it because they've got a mortgage to pay and bills and kids and family and financial commitments. They can't take a step back, so they become imprisoned to an extent by themselves because they've got this lifestyle. But now they have to stay in it to keep maintaining it, but they're not happy. So if you're working 9 to 5, 5 days a week to enjoy the 2 days in the weekend, you're wasting 70% of your life.
Right.
There's a problem. So I think you have to have some deep think, and you have to understand yourself before making this decision. So dentistry is not an easy job.
So I agree with Ammar completely. When you're 17, like what options do you have? What do you know, right? So even I think at my schooling was very similar. So I had to make a decision. I was left only with dentistry or medicine. Like, what do you choose? I chose the easier one, and it turned out to be a more difficult one, you know? So, and I think we're constantly living in a society where there's a lot of comparison. If your neighbors are doing this, you should be doing that. So yes, it started all with the pressure, but I wouldn't say I'm not enjoying it now. Again, it depends where you are and with whom you are. So like now we're with like-minded people. Even back home where I work, I really enjoy working because I'm doing something that I like. But if you ask me back in the days, or if you ask me someone graduating from school, I'm not really sure if I would be really recommending it.
Yeah.
They really need to like it because dentistry is eventually heading to, I think, a zone where it is going to need a lot more effort, for youngsters. Marketing, opening up a practice is going
Correct.
to be quite challenging. So someone who really likes it will be able to bypass all those challenges, But someone who's just doing it for the sake of doing it will really struggle.
I think these professions were also very good in the past.
Yeah.
When there wasn't that many of them around. My dad is a doctor, and at that time, to immigrate from the country that you're in, a medical degree was your golden ticket to leave the country, to go to Europe. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So decisions were also made because you wanted to become an economic migrant, essentially. And those professions made money, in that time. But now the market's flooded with so many universities. Anyone can be
100%.
anything they want. So the value of that isn't the same as what my dad had. It's not a doctor then in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. It's not the same as a doctor now. And actually you've got a lot more allied health services coming through that's sort of helping those professions take away a lot of their responsibilities. So actually you've got less responsibilities now.
Yeah.
Maybe income's not as good. If you start to, let's be honest, you could probably do IT. Even like some of my friends, they did carpentry, plumbing, electrics. They are doing very well
And I
financially,
think-
to be
I
honest
think,
with you, because
yeah.
the trade, you always need someone in trade.
The youth is
You know?
much smarter than we were back in
Correct.
the days. There's a lot of information. They have a lot of access to more information on what they
Correct.
want to do. And to be honest,
And they're more liberated.
yeah,
with
if
their
they
decision.
want to make money, I'm not sure if they would choose dentistry.
No, I would. I
There are
don't think so.
easier ways to make more
I-
money now. You can be an entrepreneur, you can do a startup. There is much more ways. But if you see dentistry as a big money-making business, I'm not really sure
Not
where
sure
this
if
is
it
going.
is.
Yeah, that's not
Because
real.
Because
What
I
is
think
happening?
with dentistry now, what Ammar rightly said, I think an hour ago, was give it time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I say give it time means that I hated it for most of the time till I've done it. I must have been in the last start 2010. I am now with 2024 now. I must have Hated it for about 8 years. I started loving it. Why? Because I was in an environment which suited me. Those people were good enough to give me time
Pushing
to
you.
make me love what I love, and I did not know that was something I could love as well. So yeah, it's like, you can always ask a direct question of 1 + 1 is 2, but
Yeah.
in this situation, now if you ask me would I change it, probably would not.
No.
If I would change it then, probably I would. It's personality as well, right? When I chose dentistry as well, it was, again, you had very few options that was allowed for you to take on to. You only have this or that, and like, do you know what? You got to pick one of them. Forget the weed story that I spoke about, because that was a whole different aspect of it. But just talking to general public in that sense, I think time is very crucial, because I don't think any of us, even when we started specialist training, because we realized at that time, oh, do you know what? We fancy endo. You never knew what you were getting into till you actually got into it, till you really fucked up, till you really messed up, and you had the right people to dig you out of that hole to get you to actually fancy it. So, do you know what I mean?
And I think,
I think dentistry is physically and mentally
Exhausting,
exhausting.
yeah,
And I
very
also want to
exhausting.
quote this. I've been reading about this. The highest number of suicide rates in the UK
Yeah.
are dentists.
Yeah, dentistry, accountancy is another one
sad,
as well.
yeah.
It's sad, right? So
Yeah.
it's a profession where people are in closed rooms, don't
Correct.
want
Yeah.
to talk, can't express.
There's
And
no
then-
environment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
the
the
environment's rough.
expectations from your patients
Through
are
the
so
roof.
high, and we can't
think-
match it sometimes.
I think the other thing as well, I think as someone who wants to do dentistry now, I think just be careful about two things. If you're doing it for status
Absolutely.
or for money, I think you're going in it for the absolute wrong reasons. I think you're going to get stung really. 'Cause I think people don't care. If you're a dentist or doctor now, no one cares. Good for you.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're in the 80s, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Maybe you're the only doctor in the town.
The social status,
Yeah. So now, if you're doing it for social status or for
Doesn't
any of
work.
these things, I think you're really getting yourself into a really bad. You're going to go into the rabbit hole basically, very quickly.
And not only that, that's one thing that should you do it. Another thing to add to it is that look where we are now, where we live, okay? As a dentist, if you're going to have your own practice, you're not just dentist.
No.
You need to be a business admin. You need to know marketing. You need to know sales.
Finance.
Fine, all of this. And at what level do you start drawing a boundary between these three to stick to ethical treatment for your
Correct.
patients? Which is something that I think what I see with a lot of practices doing, a lot of corporate dentistry coming into place. Corporate dentistry is what? You have a target.
Yeah.
Your dentists have to perform based on targets. That means how much money is going to come in
Correct.
per month, regardless of you needing treatment or not. Why are we shifting that way? So when you are joining this, you should know where you stand and whether this is what you want to take up. And that's working for someone.
Correct.
As opposed to working for yourself, having your own practice, but then again,
That has its own
Marketing.
stresses.
there's a lot that goes into it. So are you just a dentist
And
at the end of
there's
it?
actually an irony as well. Is a lot of times when you own your own business in dentistry, you actually earn less money than if you're an associate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be better off just being an associate because you're gonna have to plug the debts
That's a
yourself.
great point, yeah.
So a lot of people think, well, I'll be a business owner. Good for you, but if you don't have the patience, if you don't have the skill, if you don't know how to talk, if you don't have the right staff, you're actually gonna really struggle very, very quickly.
Yeah, I think on this topic we three can talk a lot because
Yeah.
we get asked this question a
So
lot
many
wherever
times.
we travel. Youngsters, my students ask me this a lot many times, and I say a very similar thing. So this is a debate or a topic which can actually be kept on for hours.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I think you three guys are a good example that if you guys, like as dentists, we can leave the confines of our four walls and travel and still do dentistry and beyond. Because like you said, it gets too depressing in staying on those four walls.
That's correct. You're right there, but only a very select number of dentists can actually achieve that
Yeah.
status within that profession.
Yeah.
You need to remember how many dentists are there. Let's say for the UK, I think there's maybe 32 or 35,000 dentists. How many dentists really teach and travel and do stuff internationally? What percent is that? Less than 1%? Even I think that even 1% is a lot. I think it's even less than 0.5%.
Yeah.
So you're extremely privileged to be in that situation. That's where social media then comes at a terrible downside, for my opinion, is you start to compare and say, I want to be like Gurdeep. But they don't. So
They don't know his story. in fact.
So there's a really nice quote that I heard recently, which was, I'm jealous of the outcome, but not jealous of the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so people see, oh, he's doing great. They haven't seen the hardship, the stresses, the financial problems that he's had, mental issues that he might have gone through to get to this situation. Do you see my point? And also all the backlash that you get. Believe me, we get a lot more backlash than you think. Okay, so don't think it's just easy. We're just sitting here and everyone's like, "You're amazing, guys." That's not how this works. You have to have some thick skin, and you need to know what the hell you're on about. If you don't have anything of value and you don't have anything to showcase, people are gonna think very quickly you're just a ghost. You're just a fraud.
Yeah.
And they don't want nothing to do with you. And actually, most people will wash their hands off you very quickly. That also includes the sponsors, the companies.
I was just coming to that.
They'll all wash their hands off. They don't want to be related to you in any way, shape, or form. So actually, it's an extremely difficult balancing act to keep everyone sweet, as well as yourself. And that's where it's hard, I think.
Yeah, and when I just spoke about being getting into dentistry and then becoming a business owner and being a part of sales, for example, mind you, it's not that easy to even teach, because you have pressure from sponsors to do something that you may not want to do, and then how is that right for a delegate?
Correct.
And we spoke about this just about 4 days ago. There's a massive difference between being sponsored and being supported.
Correct. You don't want to be sponsored.
You do not want
You
to
don't
be
want to be sponsored.
You may love to be sponsored with the biggest company,
But they'll
then
own you. They own you.
they own you, and your delegate, who's there for the right reason, is not going to get the best
Yeah,
out of you.
Because
you
the
end up being a
lectures
sales
are
pitch.
your lectures or your
You're a sales-
presentations.
it's a sales pitch.
You're a salesperson
Yeah,
basically,
and
right?
then
Like,
everyone knows you're a
yeah,
fraud.
yeah.
They destroys
Even
you.
now,
It comes across that.
You've forgotten your science and you just became
Yeah.
a salesperson,
Correct.
and you're actually mimicking the youth now. You're just selling something which even you don't believe.
Yeah.
It's just what you're getting from the companies.
Yeah,
That's
'cause
what we don't want to.
because
for
be.
this course now that we're doing in 2 days, we have bought a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
We are paying through our skins and noses to buy stuff, because that's what we use in practice.
Yeah.
And I think that if we do anything less than that, based on sponsorship,
We can't
it's
do
going
it.
to do injustice to.
And I just want to
delegate.
add to that to Shaurya. It's not that we don't have or people don't want to sponsor us. There are a lot many big companies
Yeah.
who want to get along and tag their names with us. But it's just we are worried. We don't want to lose the narrative. What the course is about.
And we might not even like the product.
Yeah.
The product might be
You
terrible.
lose your essence of it.
Yeah, so I'm not going to attach
Absolutely.
my name to a product that I know is not going to work. And so I also devalue myself. I become a salesperson. So it looks a bit desperate. That's another problem as well.
Because I saw his story about recently a story about putting post in molars, and you
Yeah.
reacted to it.
Yeah, I mean,
on
I
social
would agree
media.
with you.
I mean,
That's-
I think putting posts and molars is
you're pushing it.
there's a lot that goes into it, right? And when we put up stories like this, is because of the kind of education, so my narrative of what I teach, okay, and the way I teach is based on where I was taught, I would say wrong, honestly, where I was taught wrong, okay? And I see that translating into what's happening even now, 2024. Give an example. The hardest exam that we ever had in our undergrad, I mean, you will verify to this as well, was the cons endo exam, doing a class 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had to be incipient caries or a bit more than that. We never diagnosed this tooth with any other sort of symptoms or signs. We never looked at cold tests. Endofrost was never seen in the department. We only went based on a radiograph that was processed with the old school ways. Did we ever learn a bite wing? We never learned it. True form of caries extent, you
And
never
that's
know.
done on a patient.
That is on a patient. You're going to be doing this on a patient. And what was our biggest concern? We didn't care about what we did. We cared about, will we expose the pulp? Now you tell me, now I'm telling you from an endodontist standpoint. By exposing the pulp, is it the end of the world? No. But exposing the pulp in undergrad, you're going to fail your undergrad.
So you see the focus. The focus here is we're not learning because we are just worried about the pulp. We're not learning any of that shit. The cavity design, nothing.
Nothing.
We are just worried about the burr exposing or
into the
getting in the
pulp.
chamber. That's it, right?
No diagnosis.
Yeah.
Only care about not exposing the pulp, even if there is significant amount of caries, irrespective of the patient's symptoms. We cared only about not exposing the pulp.
Yeah, like people have failed because
Absolutely.
they've exposed
Yeah.
the pulp.
And they never taught us how we should do this in practice. We read it in theory.
I think that's where it's different now in the UK.
Yeah.
This was very in the UK we didn't have this issue.
And then going into where we stand today in specialist training with the MDS now, they're doing exams on lower sixes, restoring these teeth with cast posts in molars. He just chuckled. That tells you enough to see where evidence is. Because when we look at a tooth, and if we think that a post has to go into a molar, you're already thinking, should I take this tooth out?
Yeah. Is it worth it?
There is no differentiation in our opinion on that. That is a very, that is a consensus that we can say with most endodontists, all right? And that is an exam right now. If you don't pass that exam,
You're not a dentist.
you're not a specialist. And you're being judged on parameters that should not be judged on. There's no critical approach as to how we're going to go beyond this, because when we teach as well, we always say, putting a post in molars is as good as a dog's dinner. That's quoting one of my consultants. And always the endodontist will stand up, be like, why did you say that? And then we get into the depth of that, which we won't right now. For that, join our course, guys. But no, but honestly, this is the parameters you judged on. In undergrad, you're too afraid to do something. You just care about passing an exam, not to be a clinician. And in specialist training, you're doing something where it has to be done, regardless of what the evidence is saying.
Because of the
as well.
outcome, you want the outcome, which is you want to get the
Yeah, I
degree.
mean, and I think
It's
there's,
outcome
driven.
yeah, there's a
That's
lot
Outcome
these
driven.
days. There's always two thoughts, two schools. Like one
Right.
saying that one. So even I think people who are learning get a bit confused, but that's what they should know. Like how and what they should pick up, what suits them in their practice, but still keep the principles alive on how it should be, how the treatment has to be carried off. Yeah. So I think for that, the post, because we teach where I work, I do teach, the undergrads do post for molars, but again, that's a bit inspired from the American school of thought. Yeah.
Like you guys mentioned, you teach undergrads. So if imagine yourself being an undergrad back. So what advice would you guys give your younger self as to if you go back in time? What advice would you like to give back?
I think if I went back in time, my advice is I would want to learn rather than just pass.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
I just want to go back and learn and not just pass.
Yeah.
I think my entire undergrad was just about passing and
Correct.
just finishing those 5 years and getting out of it. That's it.
Yeah. I mean,
That's it.
I would say two things. I think one, try as many things as possible and work on your weaknesses rather than just your
Yeah.
strengths. I think that's a
Yeah.
big thing. And the second thing is actually enjoy the journey. The journey is actually the best part. Believe you me. Like even now, I've done my specialist training. I've done my doctorate. I've got a teaching degree. I've actually started another degree recently. It's like, what next? I need to stay motivated, and not rushed. I wanted to get to the end quickly. I want to climb that mountain quickly. The problem is when you get to that mountain,
What do you do?
You
What's
have a look at the
next?
top, and then you go, "There's another one down there."
Yeah.
And then so you don't even enjoy the view. You've rushed going up so much, you've not looked at anything. You've gone to
Yeah.
the top, you've panted, looked for a second, went, "Oh, that's nice," and now your eyes are already on the next thing. I wish I just slowed down a little bit. I wish I actually did other things. I think I would have. If I was to turn back, I would have enjoyed the journey far more. I
Yeah.
stressed myself too
We
much.
need to enjoy it a bit. Yeah.
I wanted the outcome. I was desperate for the paperwork, the degrees, the titles.
Yeah. I
But
agree.
actually, now I'm not
100%.
bored. I wouldn't say I'm bored, but it's like, what next?
Like,
How do I keep myself
it's
motivated?
It's that pressure, we just keep that. We just need to go cross. It's like a level of every game, and then you forget to enjoy. I think people should enjoy the journey. That's part of it, right?
So what Gurdeep said, I would not change anything that he said. I would like to do something that I enjoy doing rather than having the
Yeah.
pressure that this is going to be an assessment of it, right? And this was the difference that I found that where I was when I did my specialist training. And it's the same with these guys. I would 100% say that
Absolutely
as well.
same. Yeah.
That they made you fall in love with it.
Yeah.
The teaching was lesser, but they made you fall in love with it because it was an open mind. You could make mistakes. Yeah, you're judged if you shit, but regardless of that, you can be thrown in the deep end of the well. But if you pull yourself up, and they will help you with that, that judgment lasts for a day, not for eternity.
Yeah.
Right? And I think if I was more in an environment where people wanted to teach every single day to keep that interest in me, and that's me personally, I can faint out very quickly. I think if that was there, I think that would have been a much better place for me to even now be a better clinician, right? And I think it's the same no matter where we are from and what we have done, who teaches you and how they
Correct.
teach you.
I think-
that is the
Yeah, I think, and also like I would say, even we are mentoring
Yeah.
students now. We're mentoring dentists. I would say it's also a lot of pressure on the person who's mentoring.
Correct.
But then there's this history which is going on historically. The person is giving you what he or she has gone through.
Yeah.
That cycle needs to stop somewhere, and you
Yeah.
need to change. We are evolving towards
Right.
better ways of teaching, especially in clinics, especially in the if you see the didactic part of the teaching, everything is changing, evolving. But how many people are actually accepting that change?
I think like one last thing. I think for undergrad students, honestly, at the moment, I think it's quite a topical thing, and I think it's quite important to discuss. It is mental health.
Yeah.
Mental health is a big thing. It's very difficult. You've got pressures from society, pressures from your parents, pressure to pass, tutors,
Patience.
It's patience. It's stressful from so many angles. I think it sort of makes you really dislike the journey because there's too many vested interests in your outcome.
Right.
And that gives you, as a student, that's a really difficult situation to be in. It's really, I think we all went through it to an
Yeah,
extent.
100%.
But now I think it's very obvious and it's become more prominent because people talk about it more. And also it's on social media, you're now comparing. We didn't have social media when I was graduating. We had, at that time, it was MySpace. And Facebook had just started.
Facebook had Orkut.
Yeah, and
Orkut.
and it was Hotmail. You remember
Yeah,
Hotmail
yeah,
Messenger,
yeah.
and that was literally it.
Yeah.
I didn't compare myself to anyone because there was no one to compare to myself to.
Shaurya is
I'm
younger.
happy.
He has no clue what all that is.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's something now as an undergrad. You're now seeing other undergrads maybe doing stuff, and then you're seeing the guy next door, and then you're seeing the guy in another country, and then another continent, and you're like, where do I fit in all of this? I know nothing. This is hard. I honestly wouldn't want to be an undergrad at this moment in time. Because we didn't have, we were shielded
And
from this
times
problem.
have changed. We have to.
Times have changed.
I get questions from the undergrads. Watching something on social media and then bring up to you. It's good. It's good to clarify, but it's not good to just blindly follow it.
Yeah.
Like you don't know at what level you are, at what caliber you are, and whom you're following. That's a big.
What is it
thing,
you're
right?
following?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
Exactly.
it even worth following?
And
you
is
know?
it real? Like how? I think what percentage of social media is actually fake?
And
forget fake. We spoke about this 3 weeks ago. The three of us
Yeah.
on a group. Social media, what we look at, right? And I will tell you this with personal experience. If I put up a case with an outcome, focusing on outcome, lesion is healed. No one gives a shit. If I put something up fancy, it is gonna be shared left, right, and
Correct.
center. And this goes to the most important part about separated instruments. I shared a photo with these guys. This one person puts up something on social media where he's dug a crater in a
Drilled the
fucking
root out,
tooth.
basically, yeah.
Literally, there's
the
no
root out.
tooth structure left in that mesial root, but pulled out the instrument.
What's the point?
He got applaud galore.
There's no
But
point.
there's no tooth
there's
left.
no point.
Is that for real?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
there's
for real.
But there's nothing left. Like, so it's
There's
actually a
nothing
pointless
left.
exercise.
Where's the outcome? Where's the biology behind that? Now everything you've just finished everything.
But the fact that he pulled out the instrument,
What's the outcome?
that is, oh my god, that is skill. That's technical ability.
But there's nothing left. He literally hemisected the tooth.
And
And
this
you
is
know-
what tells you about where we are. That we are outcome driven. We care about what that is going to look like in 1 year. But social media is more like your brain. It wants to engage you for 7 seconds.
And validate
See
you.
something fancy.
Validate something, yeah.
Boom. Love it.
Yeah, man. And to be
It's a
honest,
dopamine
I
hit.
think if you see on the long run, there has to be certain guidelines or disclaimers for things which are medical related. They should have something. You just can't post.
Whatever you like.
I'm just gonna give you an example for an access opening. There's a lot of ninja access and all that stuff going
God.
on, and people post it. And I'm telling you, their skills are very high. They're very good. But if you're posting it, you have to write. Like now, they say you're not supposed to do this at home, right?
Yeah.
Don't do it. The freshers, the fresh graduates, the recent graduates, when they try it, like I've seen it. This is what I saw, and I want to do that. Very nice. Goes in.
Try obturating it.
Perforates.
No. Or try to obturate
No,
it.
they
I've
don't
done
even
it.
reach that
It's
stage
actually
of
really difficult to
obturation.
even obturate it.
Yeah.
You can't see nothing. You can't even put the GP
There's
points.
nothing. I had I had someone who had taught, and I did a ninja just to see how difficult my life is with that.
Yeah.
Then I opened it up. Okay, I did the ninja, did the obturation, and I had a photo. I shared it not on social media, but just on a group. This is what I did. Someone like, oh, ninja, a minimally invasive endo. Like it was just like applause galore, and I was like, do you have any idea how difficult my life was made on a trend that has no significance and no relevance in endo.
Correct.
But they assess you based on skill, not based on literature or outcome. And that is very scary.
Yeah.
That's very, very scary where we are now. Because we get asked these questions in our courses as well. We can talk about this for days. Question is, where do you stop? Where do you stop? What we teach on our course is conservative.
Yeah, so I would say social media is very dangerous.
It is.
Yeah, you know,
It
it has its pros and cons. I think a person who is actually watching or taking something from social media should be very careful.
Right.
Yeah, what they're taking in and what they want to like practice. But for me, I think it's very dangerous at this stage. It does.
And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, there are some very good pages
Absolutely.
as well.
Yeah.
There are some pages that help me in practice too. Okay, I'm not going to name them. They know who they are. But regardless of that, there are some very good pages. But again, if you look at what they post, is based on evidence and a learning journey for everybody else.
Correct.
It's not fancy stuff. It is simple stuff, but it will make you think again. But I would say 80% of what's out there is
Be careful with it.
useless.
Some
I
of
would
it will
say.
inspire you.
Yeah.
You look at it and you're like, that's actually really great. I like that. But then there's some stuff you have to filter. Filter.
I
Because
think
if
that's what-
if I see something on social media, it's human tendency. I would want to go and try it.
Right.
I would want to go and do it. I would want to become like that. You know, so that's very much into a human tendency. But then, like, what should not be followed and what should not be done is the thing. How do you stop the young minds
Yeah.
to know that?
Right.
So we in our school now do a lecture on the
social media?
on social media, pros and cons on social media. You
Right.
know how the young dentists should be careful on what they're doing. You know, like that's a new innovation, I think.
That's a curriculum. Honestly, that's a curriculum.
It should be in the curriculum now. You know, you can get into trouble on social media very easily. Yeah.
Because when I do a talk as well, on one of the lectures that we do for the course, there's an element of social media dentistry.
Yeah.
And that is because there's so much out there that is not valid, not standardized, but just because someone has a lot of followers, people are like, we are already following them. This is valid. It's not. Follow the right pages, the right people, because there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot.
Yep. Some really good ones.
But there are more that
Or rubbish.
is shit, to be very honest.
And it's how things are assumed from social media. For example, I think 2 years back, I started posting things about mental health for dentists, and I think I would get 1,000 messages. Are you okay? Are you going through something? And I'm like, I'm absolutely fine. I'm just trying to help people out there. So people thought something is wrong with me. Okay, it's very kind of them to reach
Yeah.
back to me, but I was just trying to help people because I remember it was the Royal College week of mental health.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're trying to promote that. And I got a lot of questions like, what's happening in your life, how things are, you know.
I think there's still a stigma to it. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
So, according to you guys, if you guys have to define a successful endo treatment, what's your definition to it?
For me personally, my mantra on success has changed. I think it's all based on the patient-driven outcome. It's not based on me. So if the patient still has it in their mouth,
Yeah.
it looks great, it's functional, not giving them pain, no symptoms, therefore it's surviving.
Yeah.
I care more about survival.
Right.
More than success. Success is good for a clinician. Me, Gurdeep, Shaurya will look at the X-ray and think this is
survival.
good, looks nice. That the lesions got smaller, it's successful. But the vast majority of the time, it's the patient's mouth, it's
Yeah.
their tooth. If still there in their mouth in 10 years, and it's survived to that point,
That's success.
That for me is more important, and therefore that's my perception has changed.
Yeah, I might have used thousands of fancy gadgets to root canal, but what's the prime function? The pain has to go, and how long is that tooth going to be in function
Yep.
in the patient's mouth? That's
Correct.
successful endo. That's it.
That's it.
Finished.
Very simple.
So just to give a little bit of controversial twinge to this, right? For the longest time, we look at success as the parameter. Okay, there is survival. There's a distinct definition between both. But where I also do stand where these guys stand, as long as you've done the best you could, may have failed, he's surviving, patient is happy, fine. But where it becomes a little bit tricky now is that does this give leeway to people not doing endo at the right standard?
Right.
We have failures based on the standard that is recommended. Okay, so this is just going to give leeway now that if you just assess survival parameters, that I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, is surviving. But the question is, have you done your best? Have you done justice to your patient? this is where I am feeling a little bit apprehensive. I think we can look at that parameter that's only survival when you've done it the correct way.
Yeah.
If you're not doing the correct way and it's surviving, that's injustice. So this is my standpoint.
You flipped it basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. You got away with it.
Like I'll give you an example, right? I mean, you know this very well. Endodontist doing endo without a rubber dam.
Yep.
And then they claim we've seen it all. It's working. It's working because you're lucky.
Yep.
We-
Your body's healing. It's doing something for you.
And just because there's a lesion and they've gone somewhere else does not mean that it's a success. If we look at our outcomes, or you look at your literature, it's what 80 to 90% success. Survival is going to be improved based on that. But I don't think that I personally think that a thing like a patient-centered outcome should not be an excuse
Correct.
for anyone doing lesser than
Substandard-
what's
substandard
recommended,
dentistry, yeah.
because that's going to make you not the specialist.
Correct.
To be very honest with you.
Yeah.
So I look at the same parameters. I've done my best job. Tooth may be failing. Patient will be informed it's failing, right?
Yeah.
But you're asymptomatic or symptomatic. You decide what you want. I can't push a patient.
I think basically what we're trying to say is we've qualified our outcome based on the fact that everything before has been done properly.
Yeah.
So therefore now I can just say, well, it's survived and the lesion's still almost
Yeah.
the same,
Yeah.
but I've done it all by the book. Then that's as far as I can take it.
Yeah.
Personally.
There are times you've done
And
all by
that's
the book. It
That's
still
all,
doesn't
that-
work.
That's all I can
That's
do.
fine.
Might still
But I
fail.
know it's been done
Yeah.
well. Does that make sense? If you've done it, half-arsed, and it's surviving, you've just got away with it.
Right.
But so where's the pride in your own work? You can't qualify it as being survival if you haven't done it properly the first time around. So I think it's
Yeah.
how you qualify survival. You know, I think that's basically it in a nutshell. Really,
Yeah.
I mean,
it's very simple.
because everyone has different definitions to it, and that's great to know. But I mean, I'm sure you guys have used a lot of instruments in your life, especially endo ones.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there would be some time where you think, if I could make a dream instrument, not for endo per se, but in dentistry, what would that be for you?
I mean, for
I'm going
me,
to start with Shaurya first. Everyone's looking at Shaurya.
Yeah.
okay, you just start to the youngest guy on the block, isn't it? I mean, for me, honestly, an antibacterial medicine or cream that actually fucking worked. Because the false pretense that there is that antibiotics is a massive tool or a pill or a cream that's going to work for endo.
Yeah.
If that really, really worked, I would devise further on that. But you know what? It does not. It does not. So I can't think of what I would do, but I can think of what I could improve that exists, but it in theory does not exist. No, logically it does not
Yeah.
exist.
I think for me it would be once you've done your root canal treatment, an injection that you can put in the periapical lesion to stimulate the body to start to heal.
Yeah.
To kickstart it, because that area doesn't have a great blood supply.
Yeah.
You might have an extra oral plaque within the root system. If you can inject something within it to kickstart the whole process, I think that would be wonderful.
That's a great one. Yeah.
That would be a really good one.
Yeah. I think for me it would be some sort of a camera which goes in with the file. Although we're using a microscope, but then I would really want to see like what's really going on inside. Like you can see the canal, you can see the orifice, but you really don't know what's on the walls.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have a lot of sectional studies, histological
Any
studies,
cracks are
any
apically, all
cracks.
that sort of stuff.
So like a small camera which takes us inside,
Inside.
and then you actually
Typical
see,
cracks,
you know,
actually. That
like
is
something
that
like
is
an endoscopy, right?
That's a big-
You see everything how it works.
Like a submarine inside.
Absolutely, it goes inside, shows you everything, and then it comes back.
Because
And then-
apical cracks are probably a bigger cause of failure that's been
Yeah.
massively underreported in
Absolutely.
the literature, but we can't report it. It's very difficult to report.
Yeah. I'm sure there's somewhere some people working on this
sure you
already.
can- you
yeah.
can.
They can contact us if they need more insights on it.
So if you guys, I mean, everyone has crushes, everyone has people who they want to treat. So if you had a dream patient, dead or alive, who you would love to, treat, who would that be? In history.
Straight up to me, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to meet Bella Hadid in my reception. I would not treat her. She's too hot, to be very honest. But if I had to treat a celebrity, I would treat, honestly, none. I have done that. And I would avoid treating a celebrity.
Not even honorary?
Sorry?
Honorary?
That's too much pressure, man. I love that man, and that's too much pressure. I'm not a fan of being focused on the fact that people But you know how it works here, right? Celebrity dentists. That's a load of crap. People invite them for scalings. They pay them.
Yeah.
It's a barter system.
Yeah. I've treated some celebrities. They don't want to be treated on the rubber dam. The practice owner is going to tell you, you better
Do
do
it.
what they say. I am not a mule on this whole farm at this point. I'm a clinician. Fuck off, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I would not want to do that, honestly, because I've had that situation.
Yeah.
He's laughing. He's laughing.
No, I mean, I've treated some footballers, Premiership footballers. I've treated stars in the UK. Actually, to be honest with you, most of them are quite nice. They just get on with it. They're just another person. The person I would like to treat is probably Jose Mourinho. I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think he's an interesting character. I quite liked him in his early sort of Chelsea Porto years.
Yeah.
I think there's something quite mysterious and dark about him, which I'd like to know more about. I think he'd be an interesting person to talk to. I think he's a very clever guy.
Yeah.
So he'd be someone I would actually like to treat.
His Instagram right now is fire.
He's
follow him
amazing. He's got a
on,
lot of
like-
memes coming out as well and all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Would you treat Roy Keane?
I think now he's mellowed out. Not in his heyday, I wouldn't. But now I think I would.
I'm sure we wouldn't say no to any celebrities. You know why? The main reason, you know,
Yeah.
it fills up your
Yeah.
pockets well.
Yeah.
Coming to me, I'm not sure. I've treated some VIP patients in the past, but not celebrities as such. But I'll be very, very honest. If I had one now, if you told me if there was someone, I think it would be Diljit Dosanjh. I would want to get a root canal on him, and he's gonna be,
The Illuminati.
yeah, you know, like because that's a happening thing now everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
if you follow him.
Yeah.
So that's one thing which that's on my mind.
I'm sure you can. And
I hope I can.
You treat him, the next patient, Ed Sheeran.
Perfect. Engaged, you know.
Perfect, exactly.
Can't get better than that.
so, if you guys can have any parting words for endodontists, people who have just offered dentists out there, what would that be?
What's the question?
Any parting words for dentists out there?
Any parting
parting
words for
words.
dentists and endodontists?
I would just I was stuck from day one. I would say enjoy the journey. Don't rush the process. That's the part I regret the most. I was so obsessed with outcome, and to get there as quickly as possible, I actually missed the whole process. And actually now when I look back at it, I actually that was the part that I should have really enjoyed the most.
Yeah, I would say take it day by day, step by step. You know, enjoy every step, then go to the next one.
Correct.
You like live that step to the next one, and I think the main thing is don't compare yourself with anyone.
Correct. I agree with that.
That's
100%.
it. If you can do this to your mind, if you can live that way, that's it. You've got the world in your
It
hands.
sounds easy, difficult to
it's
do.
very
it.
difficult.
It's very
to do.
hard. It's very hard in this day and
Very
age.
hard.
It's
But
almost
then-
impossible.
But if someone actually tried to tell me this back in the days, I would have actually tried to do it. Like not living at this age and trying to do that. You know,
Right.
like it's quite tricky. Yeah.
And what I would say probably is that even though you're qualified, as one of his supervisors said, you're not really qualified. You're going to fuck up. You're going to mess it up. But that's the part of being a medical profession.
That's
You
the
can-
growth.
You can never do anything idealistic. Knowing how to rectify that is the only way to grow forward, to be honest.
You cannot. This is the thing which I could have loved to have bought.
Yeah.
Experience.
Yeah.
Just buy 5 years experience. You know, when I graduated, if you'd let me pay for 5 years experience, I would have paid for 5 years experience. I would have been more happy. You know, just buying experience is what I wanted. That's hard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it's been a great podcast with
No,
all
thanks.
three of you guys. It's also our 50th episode. So
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very good.
So
No
it's-
pressure on us.
So it's been special to have you three guys.
Thank you.
I mean, on a short notice. I mean, we just barely spoke few days back, and I hope we covered almost quite a bit of it. And which is whatever is left, maybe another podcast when you guys are in India next. We have Mr. Shaurya.
Oh,
and he's there.
we'd be honored to do it.
I
Thank
think
you
it's
so
been,
much for
it's
having
been,
us.
It's been a pleasure and an honor to
Yeah,
speak.
thank you for all having
and,
us.
and it's honestly, the fact is, if it's your 50th podcast,
Yeah, I mean,
we can't be happier.
Yeah, exactly. And our
Yeah,
first
yeah.
podcast is
And
a
our
group,
first
to be
podcast
fair,
as a
so-
group.
Is it?
Yeah,
we've
it's
not-
the
And
first
it's the
together.
one together.
So we're just debuting in
Yeah.
as a group.
Yeah, so and you've had a half century.
Hit,
It's all good.
like, subscribe.
Yeah, you never know. We might quit ER and just start a podcast channel eventually, you know.
which I think you should, because you guys make a good trio. And I think, because I mean, I'm behind Shaurya to start his own podcast, but he's not starting it. I don't know why. If you guys can push him, and
We'll push him
Yeah, we'll push
later
him.
tonight.
End with the pint.
I know
End
the
with the
point.
point.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for
No, thank you so
being
much.
Thank you,
there.
Arib.
Honestly,
Thanks
thank
a
you for
lot.
your time.
Thanks a lot.
We hope you have soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank